Snyder.
Chapter 3. Tired. Matthew Simmons, Virginia, 2018. My brother Seb taught me how to shoot out in the forest where we used to play. Back when I still thought of him as family. He put the rifle in one hand and the bullets in the other, helping me every step of the way. He kept his shoulders behind mine for the first shot. I was so small the gun would have thrown me back if he hadn't. But he was there, telling me to close one eye, to pace the shot with the beat of my heart, hold my breath, squeeze the trigger, don't pull. Ready, aim, fire. And when it went off and the can he'd set up as a target fell over, I felt the first rush of what I was born to do. Unfortunately, even after everything I've seen and done, he's what taints my memory most. I tried to focus on the cans I'd shot all those years ago as I stared down at the soda in my hand. "What was it like over there, sir?" a new recruit asked me. I slowly twitched my head out of reverie and looked at the boy. We sat alone in the base's rec room, empty at 0300. He'd spent the past 10 minutes trying to small talk, but I hadn't said more than a couple of words in response. He yammered about home, telling me about his girl, his mama, the 15 football trophies he'd won before he realized he was still too dumb to get a scholarship, and, not least of all, about coming from a long bloodline of patriotic men who served their country. If I were still my rightful rank, I'd have told him to shut the fuck up and report back to his quarters. Teach him right before he went to school. But ever since I got back, I just couldn't get my mind straight. I picked up my half-eaten vending machine sandwich and took a bite, and no rush to swallow or to answer his question. But he kept staring at me doe-eyed, making it clear that what he'd just asked was the only thing on his mind. I put my sandwich down. Truth was, I needed someone to talk to me as much as he needed someone to talk to. Everyone's different, but for the most part, the feeling's the same, I explained, shifting the wad of bologna around in my mouth as I finished my sentence. Going to war feels like being alive. Like a rush? Yeah, one hell of a rush. Cool, he exclaimed, enthusiastically nodding his head. You want to know the biggest rush I ever had? One time, when I was skydiving, I pulled the cord and my chute didn't open. I actually shit my pants in midair, he laughed, hopped up on fond memory adrenaline. Didn't know what the fuck to do, so I just kept pulling and pulling on the cord, praying to God, begging for mercy, like he even give a damn. But hey, maybe it worked, because the fucking thing finally opened. Came down so hard I almost broke both my legs. You ever been skydiving? I've done a few hey-ho jumps, yeah, I replied, trying to remember the good without the bad. But that's not the feeling I meant, I continued, watching his smile shift to a dull stare. It took me a moment before I realized he needed me to elaborate. All right. You ever been in a fight? Not some sissy shit with your friends or your dad, but a fight when you know that if you lose, you won't walk away? No. I've been in plenty of fights, though. Yeah. That's the difference. It's like a switch in your brain that just goes off and takes you with it. Only it's a different rush for everybody. Like ordering pizza for 50 different guys. Some are going to bitch about the toppings, some are going to leave the crust, and some are just going to sink their teeth into whatever the fuck they can get and rip it apart. They're all eating the same thing. Just some find it hard to swallow. So we get a lot of pizza then? The kid asked, missing my point by a mile. Never mind, I sighed, taking a short breath and giving up on explaining it to him. He'd see what I was saying soon enough. Just remember to follow your orders, no matter what kind of rush you get. I will. Don't want to end up like that fucking psycho Simmons, he stated, talking about me like I wasn't in the room. I looked coldly at him, realizing just now this whole time we'd been sitting here, he'd already heard who I was, but just didn't know it was me. My thoughts turned to bashing his head into the corner of the table until I could scoop his brains out with my thumb. I took a few breaths to keep calm and put my head back on straight. He was right after all. For what everyone said I did, for the supposed mistakes I'd made, I might as well be a psycho. It was the fact that I wasn't one that made it seem that much more unforgivable. Not just for everybody else, but for me too. Who the fuck told you that, I asked, disgusted by the gossip and lack of discipline.
Some of the guys heard a rumor. Don't know who or how exactly.
If command won't talk about something, it means subordinates should shut the fuck up about it, I snapped, reminding myself to calm down. The boy looked spooked, like he'd just done something he shouldn't have without even knowing it was wrong. I reminded myself to be calm and took another deep breath. I glanced back at the boy who now sat quietly, withdrawn and confused, but it wasn't his fault. If I were him, I probably would have done the same. Suddenly, my curiosity about what rumors were circulating the base crept into my mind. Pretty soon, I cared more about hearing what he'd heard than shutting him up. Look, I don't give a fuck, all right? But what exactly did you hear about Simmons?
I heard he just went completely fucking crazy. He mowed down like 20 civilians.
What else?
I don't know. He got demoted, suspended. The whole fucking base thinks he's crazy, but I guess the psych evaluation they gave him didn't say so because he's still around, right?
Yeah. He's still around, I sighed, swallowing hard, choking on the memory. I raised my hand to my forehead and shook my head, closing my eyes to try and cope. It wasn't 20 civilians. It was 6. I hadn't just snapped and gunned them down. I'd followed orders based on shoddy intelligence and been hung out to dry for not keeping my mouth shut about it. I tried to go to command. I tried to set the record straight. But that wasn't what they wanted to hear. And hearing that I was all torn up about it wasn't helping their conscience much either. Nobody knew except them and me. And it wasn't hard for them to make the decision to cut me loose and pit their word against mine. Only thing that wasn't set in stone about the whole fucking mess was whether or not they'd try to send me to jail if I kept on talking about it. And then, just as that thought crossed my mind, the kid suggested the very same thing.
I thought they locked people up for that shit. Court-martial them or whatever it's called.
It's not that simple, I replied, standing up to leave the table and think someplace quiet. The boy looked up at me, as clueless as a sperm in a toilet.
Why not?
Because if they court-martial him, they have to publicly answer for the mission that put him there in the first place, which, once again, we should not be talking about, I exclaimed, picking up the crust of my sandwich and throwing it in the trash. The boy nodded, realizing that the subject was pissing me off something serious. I turned and walked away, heading down the hall to process what I'd just heard. The truth was that I knew command would have to do something about the rumors that were circulating. I knew that they'd have to either make an example out of me or come clean about the whole damn mess. But I also knew all too damn well that the last thing they'd want people to know was what I'd seen. And as usual, I didn't want to know either. The way I thought of it, I didn't have a choice, and, likely, I wouldn't have much time left to make choices either. I'd have to run while I still had the chance and hope they'd leave me be as a deserter so long as I stayed hidden and stayed quiet. It wasn't about justice. It was about forgetting the past and saving my own neck. I had plenty of experience doing that.